Alex, there is nothing better than someone trying to steal my shtick because it's my shtick. I claim the NL East is over in March every single season. And these guys, Sal Licata, and now Joe Giglio from Philadelphia, whatever the place, whatever sports radio he is, Philadelphia radio personality, is proclaiming that the NL East is over because the Phillies have an 8-game lead in the division in early June. I think this has to, like, everyone in sports radio, especially around the NL East, has to know about the Sal Licata thing. Like, There's absolutely no doubt about it, especially since the Phillies were kind of in that race. They weren't really in the race for the division, but they made the playoffs that year and went on to make the World Series. So they all know about what Sal Licata did.
Everyone in sports knows.
Yeah, and so this has to just kind of be like ironic deja vu. Now that doesn't mean he doesn't believe it, because he wouldn't say it if he doesn't believe it. He 100% believes it. He thinks the Phillies, who did not make any adjustments really to this roster, are now all of a sudden 10 games better than a team that they were 15 games worse. Because that's really where I'm just like, hold your horses. I realize that you're kind of getting a little comfortable. Spencer Strider's out. You're getting comfortable because Ronald Acuna's out. But we've still done this before, and we've still won 6 straight division champs. And there's 4 months left in the season, and you got to look at your schedule and say, hey, listen, we're playing great baseball right now, but this is not a team that has played great baseball like this over 162 games, like we've seen from the Atlanta Braves for 6 straight years.
If you somehow don't know what we're talking about, I'll give you a little refresher. So Sal Licata used to be a Twilight Radio New York guy. And then on May 31st of 2022, he proclaimed that the division, the NL East, was over. The New York Mets held a 10.5 game lead. They were 34-17 at the time, while the Braves were sub 500, 23-27. And we all know how that transpired. It culminated with a sweep with Jacob deGrom on the mound. The Braves at Truist Park. Chase and I were there. It was absolutely electric. We sweep them. We go on to win the division. And quite frankly, it's probably the best thing that's happened to Sal Licata's career, because now he is one of the faces of New York sports. I'm not talking just the Mets. He talks Yankees, all New York sports. He is one of the faces of New York sports. So, in a way, Giglio might be taking a page out of his book in hopes that he kind of, whether it does have to end up bad, like pie in the face for Giglio kind of to be on Sal Licata's, level. But he's taking a page out of this, and it's quite smart. When you say outlandish stuff and it gets thrown in your face, you just get, no publicity is bad, whatever the saying is about publicity. So it's quite. that was a throw up right there. But I think it's smart though if you think about it in terms of your career. Well, with that being said, the Braves are 10 games over 500, and this happened about a week ago or so. In terms of the 2022 season compared to the 2024 season, the Braves are 10 games over 500. They were under 500 during that point when Sal Licata declared the NL East is over. We're 10 games over 500, and we have not had any semblance of consistency on offense. No semblance. When we score 8 runs, we think maybe we're back. We go 1 hit over 14 innings. This Braves pitching staff and Marcell Ozuna are the only reasons we're 10 games over 500. This lead is now down to 7.5 at the time of this recording. Yeah, 7.5. So if Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris, and everybody else on this Braves team remembers who they are, they can absolutely chase down this Phillies lineup, who, granted, they are playing like the best team in the league. But that's not to say the Mets didn't just fall on their face in 2022. The Braves just played unbelievable baseball down the stretch, and they're fully capable of doing it again with an infinitely better pitching staff this year than in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, no Ronald Acuna back in 2022, but you can also look back at that 22 campaign and realize
that wasn't Ronald Acuna.
That was a shell of the Ronald Acuna. So it's really like you could probably get Ronald Acuna's production over the guys you have right now. The pitching staff's a lot better. There's going to be no flinch in this Braves team. This is not a team that's 35. And first of all, they're 35-25. Like, they're not even playing bad baseball.
That's what I'm trying to we're at the same point this year in terms of record through 60 games as we were last year. And the climate around Braves country is just completely different because of it looks ugly and the Phillies are just dominant. Like, we're in a very similar position this year as we were last year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Phillies have yet to face any adversity this season. And a lot of it is because of the schedule. A lot of it is because all their guys are clicking, their rotation. They stayed very healthy. Like, these are things that over 162 games, guys are going to start going in slumps. Maybe some of your pitchers fall into a little bit of slump. Maybe a couple of pitchers go down with injuries. And I'm not wishing injuries. I'm just saying these are kind of things that happen that the Braves have really faced over the last 2 months. And they've overcome them to still be 10 games over 500. Yes. And eventually you're going to play some good teams and you're going to have some injuries and you're going to have, some rough stretches. The Phillies have yet to see this. They're not going to win 111 games. Now you can be delusional like this guy might be and think you're going to win 111 games and think the Phillies all of a sudden after never winning more than 90 games in a season, or all of a sudden after not making any significant additions, this 111 win team, even though it makes quite literally no sense and there's no way that is possible. I can guarantee you that they are not going to go out there and win 105 plus games, let alone 110, which is what they're on pace to do. So they are going to come back to earth at some point, and the Braves are not going to flinch. I can guarantee you this. This is a thing that they've done time and time again. There's going to be no flinch in this team. And when you win 6 straight division titles, right, and the momentum starts to shift, and the Braves are kind of on your tail, and they're starting to feel themselves. So maybe they beat you in a head-to-head series, and maybe they know that they're the better team. It's like Tiger coming down the back nine. It's like Tiger coming to the back nine. You hear him when he's not even speaking in your head. And that's what they're going to have to wake up to in the final 2 months of the season, trying to win baseball games, knowing that the team that has owned this division for 6 straight years and 25 out of the last 33 years is on your tails, ready to claim another crown.
Everything has gone perfectly for the Philadelphia Phillies, as you were talking about. Everything, every single facet is playing up to their standard and some over expectations. The injury department has been incredibly lucky, and that's all really injuries are for the most part. It's luck. And there's a certain amount of luck involved in playing baseball, and they're benefiting from that luck too. Obviously, they're a good baseball team, very capable of going and winning the World Series, but they're also not only good, everything is going their way. The Atlanta Braves are also capable of winning a World Series. Everything is not going the Braves' way. Literally nothing. Their 2 best players are out for the season. We can't get out of our own way offensively. We can't string together hits. And when the bats finally do come up, the ever-reliable Pierce Johnson, Joe Jimenez, or Rossio Iglesias, the one time they blow a lead. So that's just what the Braves have been. They can't get it out of their own way. I keep saying it kind of like when it rains, it pours for the Atlanta Braves, whether it's injuries, whether the offense can't get out of its way, or the offense finally does show up, then the pitching staff finally falters, even though it's been one of the best in baseball. So it's just one of those things that, again, you like to always say, over 162 games, the cream always rises to the top. And even without Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna Jr., this is still pound for pound one of the most talented teams in baseball. They're very capable of it. And I keep pointing to the fact that we're 10 games over 500, and it doesn't feel like that. And the only reason why the sky is falling in Atlanta, if you ask most Braves fans, is because the offense has sucked and the Phillies are just this dominant baseball team. When in reality, if you look at the scope of last year, this year, the entire season, 162 games, a marathon, everything is fine at this point. It's not to say that if this continues through June, I won't, start to raise the alarms, because I certainly will. I'll be the first one to tell you, hey, the NL East is rapidly approaching, this deficit is insurmountable. But at this point, I'm not worried. 7.5 games, very easily, this Braves team can go and win 12 of 14. Phillies lose a few out of that. We're right back in it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think earlier in the show, it's 2 games a month. I mean, if you simplify it, it's really a very easily achievable goal. Like, you make up 2 games a month, and I'm sure the Braves can easily make up 4 or 5 at any one of these months. And all of a sudden, you go into the All-Star break, and boom, it's a 3.5 game lead, and nobody's even worried. And it's funny, you don't say these things, and this is a message to you, Joe Gigley. You don't say things, and Sal Licata, and anyone else who wants to say some ridiculous stuff. You don't ever say these things before the Braves have had their vaunted team meeting in the middle of the season. You don't say that, because you don't even know. We haven't even tried to get hot yet. We haven't even tried.
We're not even trying yet.
Brian Snicker hasn't even traveled out there to Arizona and gotten the boys ready. I don't know what he takes him to. I don't know. I don't want to know what happens in those devil worshiping team meetings, because the voodoo magic turns in the Braves' favor every time Brian Snicker lights the sage and gets the boys going. I don't know what happens in those things, but I can guarantee you, do not make these claims before the Braves team meeting, and it hasn't happened yet. Coming up after I don't even know what's coming up after the break. But yeah, do not make these things before the vaunted team meetings.